Hello everyone and welcome back to the Stormblood Dungeon Lore series. In these videos I'll do my best to explain the lore behind each dungeon of Final Fantasy XIV and go over some things about them that you might not know. Today's dungeon is Shisui of the Violet Tides, as well as the Ruby Princess. Long before the current era, the Ryan Aura once lived amongst their fellows in the ancestral home of the Azim Steppe, living alongside the Zayla tribe in peace and worshipping Azim and Nama, their deities. After the interests of each tribe began to differ though, they were pushed away from each other as lifestyles began to change, and the Ryan found themselves being pushed out of the steppe to find homes elsewhere in Othard. Although many integrated themselves into the civilizations upon Hingashi as well as in Yanxia, a small amount of the Ryan chose to turn to the Kojin of the Ruby Sea for succor, to which they were given the ocean's blessing and began living far under the surface, establishing homes on the seabed. The peoples created the village of Sui no Sato, where the majority of the populace live even to this day. Far to the southwest of the village, however, lies a grand palace built for their ruler, a leader known as the Ruby Princess. Nestled between the currents of the Ruby Sea, mixed in with the depths of the Turquoise Trench, lies Shisui of the Violet Tides, similarly kept within a huge dome with the help of an enchantment. Around the time that the Warrior of Light meets Yugiri's parents within Sui no Sato, and attempts to rouse the Confederacy to action against Garlemald, which inadvertently results in a confrontation with Susano, Lord of the Revel, and revered Kami of the Kojin, we find the denizen of Sui no Sato known as Kurenai, looking for an adventurer from above. She introduces herself as the sister of the Ruby Princess, the aforementioned ruler of Sui no Sato, and explains that although few are aware, her sister's life currently hangs in the balance. A few days prior, a mysterious man cloaked in black paid a visit to Shisui of the Violet Tides, claiming to bring a blessing of protection for its inhabitants. The incantation he spoke, however, brought a great and terrible spirit into being, immediately possessing the Ruby Princess, and not long afterwards void scent began springing forth all over the grounds, completely overtaking the palace and taking the souls of the guards there. Shiosai, a priest living within Sui no Sato, immediately evacuated and sealed Shisui of the Violet Tides from all visitors, and spread the rumour to the peoples that the Ruby Princess was simply holding a private ceremony. Although the seal placed upon the dome is held so far, Kurenai worries that it will not keep the race at bay for long, and after the Warrior of Light agrees to help, she urges us to meet with Shiosai at once before the priest acts rashly. Shiosai scolds Kurenai for divulging secrets of the Ryan, but she retorts by saying that the alternative was to break the dome surrounding the palace and drown the inhabitants, her sister included. Doubtful though Shiosai is, Kurenai insists that to accept help has no losing scenarios, and Shiosai agrees to give us time until the next high tide, after which he drowns the dome and takes his own life as penance. He hands us a scroll to bypass the seal at the entrance to the palace, but before we leave, Kurenai ominously tells the Warrior of Light that she has not been entirely truthful with her words, but can only speak on it more once the safety of the Ruby Princess and the inhabitants of the palace have been secured. We then head out into the waters and make our way far southwest to the depths of the Turquoise Trench, finding Kurenai awaiting us at the entrance. She assures us that Shiosai too is grateful, as thinking of harming the princess in any way brings him torment, and takes the lead through the gate as we prepare to wrest control from the lurking void scent. We pass through the outer gate to the Sogyoku Piscary, a place where some of the creatures able to breathe on land are kept within the palace grounds, and begin making our way towards the structure in the distance. Defeating the sea creatures defending their territory, we use a nearby geyser to take the way past the locked gates to where we encounter another set of the roaming creatures. A second geyser awaits us, and we use it to jump to Haritsuge Gate, where a large scorpion-like creature known as Amakiri awaits. The creature attacks using its claws, swiping and snapping at the tanking party member, and when injured, it trapped a party member in a viscous liquid and rears onto its hind legs, preparing a deadly blow on the trapped target. To counteract this, the party can attack its now unbalanced legs to cause it to stumble and fall over, revealing its softer underbelly and making it more vulnerable to the party's attacks. Soon after, a small scorpion known as Kamakiri appears and attempts to blast the party with splashes of water, but this too can be prevented by defeating the smaller beast before it strikes. After tackling the Kamakiri and avoiding the Amakiri's deadly blow, the creature falls and the gate unlocks to reveal the inside of Kogyoku Palace. We can immediately see that the inner designs are heavily inspired by those of Hingashi, with tatami mats and paper screens prominent in the first room. Within the palace halls lies the Royal Guard, possessed and determined to defend the also possessed Ruby Princess from would-be intruders. Each room contains a separate troop of the soldiers, and we eventually reach an outer area where we are spotted by the captain of the guard, who retreats into the following room as we give chase around the walkway. After reaching the far side, we come face to face with the captain who we managed to fell, and the following screen door opens to reveal the Ruby Princess, beautiful and terrible in her void-sent possession. As we engage her in combat, she unsteadily vows to protect her people and begins to attack. The main trick used by the princess is attempting to seduce the party with her beauty, which can only be avoided by utilising the trapped treasure boxes around the room, causing the victim to trigger a spell that makes them an old shambling figure, allowing them to bypass the seduction. Should a party member be caught, however, the Ruby Princess follows up with a mighty kick which damages and knocks those caught away. When injured, she uses another dangerous spell known as Abyssal Volcano, which spouts a pillar of fire around her and additionally calls forth 2 more which chase 2 party members around the arena. After dodging another seduction and avoiding her kicks once more, she falls unconscious. Kurenai then appears, calling to her sister, and urges us to continue to banish the void scent while she takes care of the princess. We take her advice and head out to the small pool near the exit to the palace, making our way out and up towards Shisui Temple. We face yet more of the sea creatures turn ferocious due to the unrest within the temple, and begin proceeding up the stairs between each round platform. Notably on the floor here are motifs similar to that of the garb used by the Ruby Princess, showing the reverence given to her by the peoples of Suino Sato. As we tackle the creatures now fiercely defending the later half of the walkways, pufferfish slowly float across the platforms and unleash their dangerous needles if any come into contact with them. After defeating a final group of creatures including sharks and crabs, we reach the Shisui Kagura, where the perpetrator of the temple's possession awaits. Shisui Yohi, a mighty void scent with a feminine form and many tentacles, attacks the party. The Yohi thinks little of the party, as she calls our presence insolence and that we should take a knee in her sanctuary. The name Yohi could be a possible reference to the Japanese term for a living god, implying even more so the arrogance of the void scent. The Gokagura meanwhile is a holy place usually used as a place for ritual dances to appease deities, and again the void scent's presence in such a place defiles the meaning of the word. As we fight the Yohi, it uses a thick fog to vanish into the suddenly appearing waters. The party can make out the ripples on the water of the creature's movement while defeating the magical orbs responsible for the fog. After defeating them, the Yohi stops moving and crashes above the surface, throwing any caught into the air. After this, the Yohi calls forth other sea creatures to attack the group, and mutters her own beliefs about worshipping her as a god while staring madly around. Any caught in the stare become hysteric and wander aimlessly about for a few seconds. After the creature retreats into the waters a second time and the party dispels the fog, the void scent rises and is defeated, freeing the temple from its grasp and freeing all the denizens of their torment. Outside of Shisui of the Violet Tides we meet Kurenai, already thanking us profusely for our efforts, and we follow her back to Suino Sato. Kurenai again tells us that Shiosai now looks after the princess, and realises the time has come for her to come clean with her own secrets. She takes us to see the unconscious Ruby Princess being watched by Shiosai, and grieves her still not being awake. We learn that the girl's name is Hisui, but Kurenai quickly tells us the truth she was hiding. The Ruby Princess never had a sister, and in fact she was the princess all along. We learn that Hisui is a friend from Kurenai's childhood, and Shiosai explains that when the mysterious visitor from a few days prior arrived, they decided to conceal the identity of the true Ruby Princess and have Hisui take her place due to the almost identical looks with herself and Kurenai. Shiosai also goes on to tell us that by law, the Ruby Princess cannot leave the temple grounds, but with the resulting void scent spewing forth, he had no choice but to substitute her out and have Hisui remain in her place. Kurenai mourns her friend's state, hoping that this is not the end of the two of them. Soon after, she tells Shisui of her planned journey to the surface to find a cure for Hisui's condition. Shisui insists that we accompany her as he himself cannot, and Kurenai proceeds to tell us of a fairy tale she once read in a book given to them by the Kojin of the Blue. It tells of a fisherman who found a princess trapped in a years-long slumber, but she was eventually awakened by an elixir procured by the fisherman from the Kojin of the Blue. We head to Onokoro where the tale began, and find Kurenai being talked to by a Confederacy member. After realising who we are, he leaves the scene and we head north to the pier to speak to an elderly fisherman who visits the town once a year for a few days. The fisherman too knows the tale in full and begins to tell Kurenai. We learn that the fisherman of the tale once rescued a Kojin of the Blue, and in return that Kojin gave him a vial that would allow him to breathe and explore the depths of the ocean. They journeyed together for a while, meeting all sorts of creatures and cultures until finding the princess in her slumber. The Kojin then withdrew another elixir, which upon administering to the princess awoke her instantly. The princess and the fisherman promptly fell in love, being wed in a palace under the sea, living there happily ever after. We return to Suino Sato and meet with Shisui once again, to confirm the tale told by the elderly fisherman. And to our surprise, he confirms the tale rings true against the story told by elders of a Hieran man that once married a ruby princess of old. Kurenai infers that this means the remedy used in the tale could also be true, and Shisui thanks both us and Kurenai for reigniting hope of Hisui's awakening in his heart. Following this, we head to Tamamizu with Kurenai to find a Kojin that may know the remedy required for Hisui's awakening, deducing that the one who gave Kurenai the book long ago would be the best bet. Inban, the Kojin in question, thankfully remains in the village and gladly agrees to assist us, but unfortunately the remedy in question requires the shell of a bloated Umemi, a rare occurrence in current times due to their going into hiding thanks to being hunted in the past. Not giving up hope, we travel with Kurenai and Inban to Exile to find the Umemi territory, and are luckily able to lure out a bloated Umemi with kelp, its favourite food. We collect the shell and return to Kurenai, who is ecstatic that we were able to procure it, and Inban wishes to make the remedy at once for his miscalculation that the bloated Umemi were long since gone. We return once more to Suino Sato to see Kurenai, still thankful for all we've done. She mentions that Shisui's face dropped in awe once she told the tale, and wishes now to wait for the day the elixir arrives with Inban. After speaking with her again, we head up to observe Hisui as the wait for Inban continues, and after some conversation the Kojin arrives, waving jovially at the group. He tells us the remedy is ready to be used, and explains that it need not even be drunk, and but pouring it over the victim would be enough to awaken them. Kurenai hurriedly uses the potion, and after a few tense seconds, Hisui finally opens her eyes, getting to her feet at Kurenai's words. Hisui, however, seems not to know what has happened since her possession, and the group quickly explains all. Hisui thanks everyone for their help and for going so far, and even tells Kurenai not to worry for her troubles, as she is bound to protect the princess. Shisui tells us that the time has come for farewells, however, as the Ruby Princess must return to the palace to resume her duties as leader. However, he also tells us that it may soon be time to rethink their philosophy, as having a ruler stuck within their palace may not be the best route for the future. In any case, he thanks us for bringing true change to Suino Sato, and Kurenai wishes to accompany us one last time to the gates. She tells us that the memories together fill her with a serene happiness, and Hisui insists that Kurenai would be able to escape her confines if they simply swapped places once more. They even trick the Warrior of Light to guess who is who, making them think they swap clothes on the way to the gates. But Kurenai, still dressed as Kurenai, believes life is a winding journey, and she is certain our paths will cross again. Until then, she asks us to maintain our smile and continue on our path of helping any who might need the help, before returning to Shisui of the Violet Tides with Hisui in tow. Although it seems a bittersweet ending, Kurenai would eventually return in the flesh to help garner trade between Suino Sato and the surface world, assisted by a member of Ruina's House of Splendors, hoping to introduce useful goods to her people to help build trust and relations with the outside world. And that's the end of the story and lore of Shisui and the Violet Tides and the Ruby Princess. A beautiful palace and temple, overtaken by void scent thanks to a mysterious man, thankfully cleared out by the Warrior of Light and the companions. Although Kurenai was eventually bound to return to the palace, we helped return not only her long-lost friend to consciousness after her possession, but also the spirit and happiness of all those living within Suino Sato, not least of all Shiosai, whose attitude towards us flipped completely since the cold introduction long before. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel for more Final Fantasy XIV lore, and I'll see you next time for Bardam's Metal.